guys, it's Jessii Vee, and today I have yet another story time for you guys. And in today's story, there is a huge lesson to be learned, like there probably is in most of my story times. Like I always say, I always tell my stories from my life to hopefully teach you guys something, you know, things that you should not do. Because that's mostly what I do. No, but I cannot believe that I haven't told you guys this story before. Maybe I was just so embarrassed to admit it, because as open as I am, and trust me, I'm a very open book. That's why I've made like how many videos on this channel? Like 700? There's like 700 videos of silly things I've done in my life. So I'm not the most like private person you're ever gonna meet, you know what I mean? Whenever I'm talking to people and they ask me sort of personal questions, I have no problem talking about it. But I feel like what I did, what I'm about to tell you, was just so stupid and so irresponsible that I'm lucky to like be here and be okay right now. And yeah, I might be being a little bit dramatic, but when you hear what I did, you're probably gonna be like,
Jessii, why would you put yourself in that position?
I don't even think my parents know about this, so mom and dad, if you're watching, this was like 7 years ago, so don't hate me, okay? Sometimes when my parents watch my story times, they call me and they're like,
Jessii, I just saw your recent video and you never told me about that. How are you alive still? Like, why would you do that? Are you dumb?
and I'm like, Mom, I swear that was like 3 years ago.
I don't care what it was. Are you dumb?
So yeah, just like you guys learn new things about me every day, so do my parents. Anyways, let's get into the story. Oh, I feel like this lighting is really weird. I'm filming a lot later than usual. Usually when I film my videos, it's like 1 in the afternoon. So I have a ton of light from my window, but I'm filming at like 5 p.m. And where I am, it's like pitch black outside at this time. So I'm only using my lighting, and I feel like the lighting is just weird. Like too warm, too dark, maybe too light. I don't know. Like I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder and I feel so uncomfortable with the way the lighting is today. So just like ignore it for the next 2 videos. Anyway, so as you guys know, I did a lot of modeling back when I was in high school, and even slightly before high school, I believe. I've made so many story times about my modeling things and why I left modeling, and just like how horrible sort of the modeling industry is, and not for everybody. It's not like every model that you talk to is gonna be like,
Oh my gosh, I hated that place. I really hated that place.
but probably most of them. I do know there are a lot of great agencies out there that actually do treat models like human beings, but other times it's just not a very good experience. But I've made a whole video on that, so if you want to see my whole modeling story, I was so thin that people actually called me anorexic. It was like scary thin, and it just wasn't good. So just find those stories, just type up like Jessii Vee modeling, they'll all come up. But yeah, I did that for years and years and years, and then I stopped when I went into college because it was just too much work to have like my college workload and then like go do modeling gigs like on the weekends and during the week, because that was my only time to like do my homework and projects and stuff. And I also had jobs on the side, like I was working at Michael's craft store as a cashier, and they needed me every single weekend, and I would rather have a cashier job that was guaranteed than a modeling job like every couple weeks that you didn't know if you were gonna get or not. Because a lot of the time when we were called into modeling, it was for like auditions, so you'd go all the way down to the city. It would take up your whole entire day. You'd be sitting in a row of like models, and then they'd call you in one by one and be like,
Okay, so like act serious.
and they'd be like videotaping you like doing different like model poses, and then like they would never call you after. Or maybe that was just me. Maybe they never called me. It just seemed pointless. Like you weren't even paid for it. Like you weren't paid to audition or go down to the city. You were only paid like if you got the gig. And like I was sitting in a room full of like 30 models. So 1 out of 30 models. Like it wasn't like, it wasn't too guaranteed. So yeah, like I said, I just stopped when I went into college. And as much as I didn't really like modeling, I feel like after about 2 years of me not doing it, I felt this loss, I guess, in a way. Like I sort of missed it, and I was sort of sad that I left the agency, and it just felt weird not being called in for photo shoots. I know that's so weird to explain, but I'm the type of person who hates change. Doesn't matter what it is. If I'm doing something all the time and it becomes like a normal for my daily life, when it's gone all of a sudden, I feel this like emptiness, you know what I mean? Even if it was something I didn't necessarily like. Like if I try to get rid of a bad habit, I'll like miss the bad habit for a little while, and then I'll just like forget about it. But there's like this period of time where I'm like, why am I not doing this anymore? Anyways, what happened was I was bored one weekend. I think I finished a couple projects. I was just sitting at my computer, and I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can do some photo shoots on the side. And I had already left my huge modeling agency. It was this huge agency in Toronto that I loved, and it was super popular, but I couldn't couldn't join back with them because we had already gotten rid of the contract. And if I went back to them, that was just like too much for me. So I was like, oh, why don't I take control of my modeling career? And why don't I do it on the side? So I was like Googling like different sites where you can post your modeling portfolio on, and photographers can go on these sites and like look through different profiles. It's like Tinder for photographers basically. And they can just pick the girls that they want to photograph, or guys, and they just like contact them, and it's sort of like you're doing your own thing outside of an agency. I don't know, it's really hard to explain. It's like Craigslist for models. Like you post your portfolio on there, all your pictures and stuff, and then different people will contact you like, hey, I'm with so-and-so business, we're doing this campaign or this commercial, and your like profile fits it well, do you want to meet up, and blah blah blah. It's really sketchy. And at this point I was like 19 years old, so this was almost 6 years ago. So I don't know, maybe just the logic part in my brain wasn't developed yet. I don't know what I was thinking. But I know the first couple weeks that I was on there, I wasn't really getting any feedback or anything, and if I did, it was like an occasional contact, and it would just be for stuff that I wasn't really interested in doing. Like, for example,
hey, so we're doing some advertising for the grocery store. Do you want to like come in and take pictures of you eating green beans? And we can like put on up posters everywhere all over the grocery stores with you like with a package of green beans just like eating them?
Obviously it wasn't literally that, but it was just something like just random, like I don't want to pose with green beans, you know what I mean? And a lot of the time it wasn't even like paid work or anything, it was just like,
you can volunteer to eat green beans and we'll take pictures, and your reward is just being all over the grocery store, like your face will be everywhere. Is that what you want?
and I'd be like, no, I just want to pay for college, really. So then finally I was contacted by someone, and this is where the whole like really sketchy part of the story comes in here, guys. Learn from my mistakes. Don't meet up with random people. Or if you do, like go with your parents, or like take an adult with you, you know what I mean? Don't go by yourself. So this person contacted me, and they seemed really professional in their email, so I wasn't feeling weird about it in any way. And I can't remember exactly what it was for because this was 6 years ago, but it was something along the lines of modeling clothes for a clothing website, and they sent their clothing website link, and it was actually a really popular place. I'm not gonna say what the place was. It's not like Forever 21 or anything, but it was a pretty popular online clothing store. Like I had a lot of friends who shopped there. I had shopped there before already. So when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, is this paid so I can pay for college? And they were like, yes, this is a paid gig. It's happening next week, so we need you to fill out this form like super fast. And I did remember asking, like, is there any way we can meet up before the photo shoot and have like a meeting somewhere, like at Tim Hortons or some sort of coffee shop, so I can meet you in person first and we could talk about everything? And their initial response was no, like just meet for the photo shoot, which I found really weird because this person was a stranger, and I thought it was weird how they just wanted me to go straight into a photo shoot without even meeting me. Like, what if I was catfishing them? Like, imagine if my photos I was posting weren't real and I showed up for this photo shoot with like a mustache. Like, wouldn't they feel like bad about that and that they should have prepared beforehand? I don't know, I just feel like for any of these like business things, photo shoots, whatever, you should like meet in person first. So after a while of me like really trying to get to meet this person before the photo shoot, they were finally like,
okay, fine, we'll meet.
So they gave me their phone number, and I remember like a day before we were supposed to meet at this coffee shop, I texted them and I was like, hey, we still doing this? We still meeting up? Is 1 p.m. okay? Is this location okay? Like, I was trying to organize everything. And keep in mind, if this is a legit like business person who works for this online clothing company, they're gonna be more professional and they're gonna be the ones organizing this stuff, and I felt like I was the one who was like initiating everything and trying to organize the meetup. Like, they weren't doing anything, which is like red flag number 1, or maybe like number 500, seeing as so many things have gone bad so far and I haven't even realized yet. Because honestly, anybody could just email you and be like, hey, I work for so-and-so clothing store, but like, how can they really prove it until you meet them? Because I remember this email address of the person didn't even say like Stephanie@clothingstore.com, you know what I mean? It was like some total random Stephanie Sporty Girl at 54 outlook.com, like whatever it was. It wasn't even like a professional email address, but I was still like,
oh, like maybe I don't know, her business is really open to them keeping their normal email addresses.
I don't know what I was thinking. So I didn't hear from this person the whole day before we were supposed to meet, and then the day of, in the morning, I texted them again and I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Are we still meeting? And then finally they were like, yeah, I'll be there at 1 p.m. Like, meet you there, save me a table, sort of thing. So I went there alone. It was in the middle of the city, and yeah, it was a coffee shop, so technically there were like 30, 40 other people in there with me, so I wasn't like alone, but I didn't go there with anybody, which is a huge mistake. Please, if you could learn anything from this video, as I've been saying, please never go anywhere with a stranger, never meet any stranger. I don't care how old you are. Even at my age now at 25, if I was ever going to meet a stranger somewhere, I would still bring either my fiance, my sister, my mom, someone. Like, you can be like a 67-year-old person and you should still bring someone with you when you're meeting a stranger. I don't know, I just think it's safe. Anyway, so I arrive at this coffee place and I go find a seat that's near the window so I can see the parking lot, just so I can see like when someone's coming into the coffee shop so I can like wave them over, even though I had no idea what this person was gonna look like. I remember researching their name. I couldn't find anything on Google. Like, I had no idea what this person looked like, but I was like, okay, well, they know what I look like, so I'm assuming they're just gonna like approach me. So 1:20 comes around, they're 20 minutes late, and that's like another red flag, because usually when you're a professional and you're in a business, you just don't run late with things, especially for important meetings with people that you're photographing. And just red flag number 2 or number like 3000. So anyway, at this point 40 minutes goes by and I shouldn't have even waited that long. Like, my mom always told me, wait 20 minutes. If they don't arrive in 20 minutes, they're not professional and you should leave. That's what she told me, and it's such a true thing. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would they be late if they really cared about you or wanting to work with you? So 40 minutes goes by, and this was the point where I was starting to like pack up my things. I was finishing my coffee. I was like, you know what? They obviously don't care and I'm going to leave right now. And then I saw the creepiest thing, and still to this day I can't prove or tell you for sure if it was the person that I was talking to, but I remember this little black car pulls up in the parking lot and this man walks out and he's holding this like big leather black like side purse bag. What are they called? Like something that you'd carry like a laptop in or something. And he walks up to the windows of this coffee shop. Doesn't walk through the door like a normal person. He walks up to the windows and he presses his head against it and he's like looking inside the coffee shop. His eyes are like wandering around. Suddenly they lock with mine because I'm looking at him like, what is this guy doing? He looks at me and then sort of like looks away and acts like normal, like he's supposed to be doing that. And he starts like just pacing sort of up to the door of the coffee shop like he's debating to go inside and then like walking back. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable because, first of all, the person I was talking to, their name was Stephanie. So I don't know who this guy was, but he kept making eye contact with me and he looked really nervous and shaky, and like, it was just a very sketchy situation. I would say that he was in his late 40s if I had to like guess an age here. So I was literally like, wow, am I actually being catfished by this person? Are they nervous to like show themselves to me? Were they trying to like lure me somewhere? Because I've heard of so many situations where people pose as photographers and like lure girls or whoever to their house, and like, it's not a good situation. So I remember like pulling out my phone and texting the person to see if maybe like their phone would go off, but he was outside so I couldn't hear it. But I texted the person like, hey, are you here? I'm about to leave. And then suddenly he pulled his phone out of his pocket and like looked at his phone, didn't reply, and put it back in his pocket. So I was like, what is going on here? I was just so uncomfortable. Like, I felt like gross and weird because there's a whole lot of situations that were like going through my head. I thought, first of all, I was catfished no matter what, is what I thought. And this person either looked in the window and saw my appearance and didn't like what he saw and didn't want to photograph me anymore, so he was debating on coming in. Number 2, he had other plans for me and wasn't actually a photographer and was planning on luring me somewhere, and then was trying to debate how he was gonna do it or whatever. And then 3, Stephanie didn't actually show up and she was actually a real person, and this guy was just looking creepy at a coffee shop. I literally don't know what happened, but I was so creeped out. I got up and left and went home, and I just like never told anybody about it, and I felt really bad about it. And since then I like took down all of my like online portfolios and stuff, and I never did it again. And that was my last like modeling experience, if you will. But yeah, lesson learned, right? Don't do this, kids. Your own safety is really important. Always tell your parents or someone what you're doing. Take them with you. Always inform people in case something bad happens, but you should never be put in a situation where something could bad happen anyways. You know what I mean? Take care of yourselves. But yeah, that's the story I'm gonna tell you guys today. I hope you learned something as usual. But yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!